Imagine it's Sunday evening and you can feel it starting. Your child gets quiet. Maybe they complain that their stomach hurts. Maybe the tears just begin. Maybe they're begging you to not make them go to school. Then Monday morning comes and getting them out the door feels next to impossible. If you live through that, I want you to hear something. Your child isn't trying to make your life harder. They really aren't. They're not lazy and they're not being completely manipulative. They're probably not choosing any of this. What if the real problem isn't school at all? What if it's that your child's nervous system no longer feels safe enough to handle school? So today I want to talk about what we call school refusal and why it becomes more and more common. What's actually happening inside the nervous system, why so many families finally begin finding answers when they stop looking only at behavior and start looking at the brain and the nervous system. So this is something that we see more and more often. Parents walk in our office completely exhausted. That's a theme here. They've tried counseling. They've met with the teachers, maybe even the principal, and they've worked with the school, and they've tried reward systems. They've tried everything. And sometimes they've even tried medications to get their kid to calm down or relax more. But yet every morning is still a battle. They don't want to go. The child isn't refusing because they don't care about school or their friends or their teacher. In fact, many of these kids desperately want to go. They miss their friends. They miss their teacher. They want to learn. But when it's time to walk through those school doors, their body completely shuts down. Parents often tell me, I know something bigger is going on, but no one can tell me what it is. So that's usually when we start talking about the central nervous system. We talk about the brain and the body and how they work together. And one of the biggest misconceptions is that school refusal and truancy are the same thing. They're not. I don't know if you've got elementary kids, you understand this already. But a child who is skipping school by choice is very different from a child whose body goes into complete panic at the thought of walking into a classroom. One is making a decision. The other is having a neurological response that's shutting their body down. And when that child's survival brain takes over, the thinking part of the brain begins to shut down. And that's why reasoning with them rarely works in that moment. And punishment usually makes things worse. I hate to say this, but even rewards often aren't enough or are even a motivation because you can't talk to someone or talk a nervous system that's stuck in survival mode. It doesn't register. So one of the easiest ways to understand this is to think about your child's nervous system like a car. There's a gas pedal and there's a brake pedal, okay? The gas pedal is your fight or flight response. It's designed to protect you from danger. That's what it does. And the brake pedal is what allows you to calm down, recover, connect with others, and adapt to the stress that you're walking through. So a healthy nervous system moves back and forth between the two all day long, coming back to center. But many children that we care for have a gas pedal that's constantly pressed down, going all the time. And a brake pedal, well, it isn't working the way it should. So when they walk towards a classroom, their nervous system isn't saying, time for math class. It's saying, something isn't safe. I don't want to be here. Their heart starts to race. Their stomach starts to tighten and hurt. They feel trapped. The walls are closing in. They're looking for an escape. And those meltdowns begin because they know that's what may get them out of the situation. This is where that vagus nerve becomes incredibly important because the vagus nerve is one of the most important nerves in the entire body. It helps regulate digestion, heart rate, breathing, and emotional regulation. Okay, so our ability to feel calm and socially connected, this is where it comes from. And when it's functioning well, any child can adapt to change. They recover from those stressful moments and come back to the middle and can play. They feel safe around other people. But when that system becomes overwhelmed, even everyday situations can feel threatening. So that's why so many children with school refusal also experience those stomach aches, the nausea, the headaches, constipation, sleep struggles, anxiety, and the overwhelmed sensory challenges. They're all connected through that central nervous system. The stomach ache isn't made up. It's one of the body's first warning signs that the nervous system is overwhelmed. And parents often ask me, why did this happen? I love that question. The answer usually isn't one event. It's years of stress building on top of others. When you start doing a little search into your history, you see that it maybe started with a stressful pregnancy, or maybe birth was difficult, or maybe you moved a bunch, or maybe there was ear infections or poor sleep patterns or food sensitivities that were overwhelming, and maybe their sensory system was just overwhelmed and there was chronic illness or emotional stress. You know what we call that? We call that a storm, a perfect storm. And each event adds a little more stress to the nervous system. Eventually, that nervous system loses its ability to adapt as it was designed to. So when something like starting school or changing classrooms or even walking into a noisy hallway becomes an event that pushes the system beyond what it can handle, what it looks like a behavior problem is often a result of years of accumulated neurological stress. And one of the reasons families come to us is because they want objective answers. That's why we begin with our inside scans. We use that heart rate variability to see how well the nervous system is balancing stress and recovery. We use the surface EMG to identify areas where stress is being stored along that whole spine. And the thermal scan, love this one, shows us where communication between the brain and the body may not be working efficiently. These scans don't diagnose anxiety or ADHD. It's not what they're about. What they do is help us understand how well your child's nervous system is functioning and adapting to stress. And that gives us a roadmap for care. Now, as we begin restoring that balance, the nervous system with gentle, neurological, focused chiropractic care, families notice something interesting. The first changes usually aren't at school. They happen at home. Sleep starts improving. Digestion becomes more consistent. Kids become calmer. They're more flexible when plans change. They recover quickly from those meltdowns. They can handle stressful things a lot faster than before. And over time, many parents tell us that the mornings actually become easier. Their shoes are on, they're ready to go. You're like, what? Tears become less frequent, and their child begins walking to school with confidence. Both hands on those backpacks, they're ready to go, that you haven't seen in months. Not because we treated school refusal, but because we helped improve the way the nervous system responds to stress. If your child is struggling to get through the school day, I want you to know this. You're not alone. Your child isn't choosing to feel this way. And this is about so much more than behavior. So at Reformed Family Chiropractic, we believe every child deserves to have their nervous system evaluated, not just their symptoms. Using our insight scans, we are able to measure how your child's nervous system is functioning, identify where it is under stress, and create a personalized care plan to help them heal and adapt. So if you've been searching for answers and feel like no one has looked at the bigger picture, we'd love to meet you. So click the link in our bio, send us a message, or schedule a consultation. There is hope. And when we begin supporting the nervous system, we often see children become calmer, more resilient, better able to handle the challenges of everyday life, including walking through those school doors with greater confidence. I'm Dr. Matt Davis at Reformed Family Chiropractic, right here in McKinney, and we can't wait to see you.